Welcome to MPC ABCs, episode 4, part 2. So, in part 1, we went through the song Ooh Just Ain't Fair in Melodics and sampled the different pads and made a program out of them in the MPC. So, in this episode, I'm going to take off where we left off and I'm going to actually record the MIDI performance for that song, and then we're going to combine that with the program we made in part 1 just to recreate the track, basically. And then from there, we'll go and try and reimagine the track a little bit and just rearrange it and stuff. But so the first thing I'm going to do is go to Mode, Load, and I'm going to cycle over to where I saved that project last time. And it's still got that spelling mistake, which I'll fix that later. But I'm going to hit Do It. You'll notice it says it's going to clear the entire memory. Because this is a project, this will, if you have other stuff loaded already, clear it all out. It's going to load everything from that project. The sequences, the songs, programs, the samples. So it's got everything we need. So I'm good with that. But if you were working on something else, you might want to just load the individual components or make sure you save first. But so we've got everything loaded up. You'd see MIDI's off. And beats per minute are still on 91. And we've got the program OJAF loaded. And we've got sequence 1 selected. And I'll cover this more in depth another time, but sequences are essentially a collection of tracks. So the tracks are listed right here. I think they let you have 99 if I remember correctly. Oh, it's 64? 64 tracks. So you can have up to 64 tracks per sequence, which I won't get into that later, but it's good to know that a sequence is a collection of tracks and bars. So it's sort of like a song segment almost, and then you can rearrange those sequences into full songs and whatnot. But the key thing to remember is a sequence is going to contain the 64 tracks and then the bars, which how many bars does it let you go up to? $999. So potentially up to 999 bars. We don't need that many though. And as we record, we're gonna end up doing more. So I'm just gonna leave that off for now. The default's to 2 to start. So what we're gonna do in this episode is play the track as they want us to in Melodics and record that MIDI sequence, and then we're gonna rebuild it with the programs and samples that we took from episode 1, or part 1 I should say. So just to get ready to record from Melodics, I gotta change a few things here. I need to turn MIDI back to 1A so that I'm sending my MIDI signal to the program. And I need to actually turn off program OJAF. I want it loaded still, but if we start playing along with the MIDI and the program, it's going to overlap and it's going to get confusing and sound wrong. So for right now, we're going to leave program to off, MIDI to 1A, beats per minute still at 91. And I'm going to go ahead and just give this sequence a name before we even get started. So I'm going to call it Ooh Just Ain't Fair. So that we got a sequence name now as well. So I'm going to be recording the MIDI sequence now. Again, we got MIDI set to 1A. Program is off for now because we're going to be triggering it in Melodics for this first part. So I'm going to go to continue the lesson. So, let me go back to the menu here actually. So this track, they really just want us practicing our timing with the pinky finger here, just the one finger. So it's gonna just be going through, and I'm not even gonna do the preview, honestly. I'm just gonna go right in and start playing it. So I'm gonna hit play and record on at the same time on the MPC, just like you would on an old school tape deck. And actually, before I do that, let me make sure. I want to hit TC up here and make sure I've got timing correct to off, at least for starts, which I do have that set to off. And I want to hit click and make sure that this is off. If I have click on, we're going to have the metronome both on the MPC and in the potential. Well, I've got the metronome turned down, I guess, anyway, but I just don't want to risk the overlapping metronomes, because that's another thing that can throw you off. So we won't have the metronome here, and the timing correct is set to off. We will probably do timing correct later, but for right now we want the full natural sequence. So I think we're good to start recording. So I'm going to hit play and record at the same time, like I said, like you would with the old school tape deck. And then I'm going to hit the four corners to make the game start doing its thing, and I'm just going to start recording the sequences. So alright, so I'm going to hit stop on the recording there. Got 85. Looks like just a few lates and one that looked like a double hit. So I'll have to keep an eye out for that when we're cleaning it up. But it should be good enough to work with, so I'm not going to worry about recording it again. So at this point, we are effectively done with the Melodics. I'm going to come down into the MPC here now, and I'm going to turn off the MIDI so that we're not sending it to the computer at all. And I'm going to change my program back to OJAF. So you can see we've got the same hits that we recorded from the So we've got all the samples we captured earlier in part one. So, and now we've got the MIDI sequence to play them as well too. So first thing I'm going to do is just clean up the beginning and end of this MIDI sequence a little bit, and we'll just see how it matched up as far as being able to play it. So I'm going back to the beginning here, and I'm going to delete. Here, I'm going to go to mode pad 15 to get a better view here. So I'm going to delete the first two bars entirely. So I'm going to hit mode, sequence edit, hit bars, delete, and then I'm going to make the range from 1 to 2. So, and now I'm going to go down to the end here. And I'm gonna leave that for now. I'm not too worried about that. So it's probably not going to sound exactly right, but I'm going to just hit play, and we're going to play the sequence and just see how the recording came out. So that was pretty decent. Like, there was some spots where it wasn't quite lined up right timing wise, but that's to be expected. But overall, it sounded pretty close. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna make a copy of this sequence and also do a timing corrected version. So then we can do the comparison. So got the sequence highlighted. I'm gonna hit Window, copy to sequence 2. Do it. So now we're on sequence 2, and I'm gonna hit TC and hit fix. So I'm just gonna hit play again and see how it sounds now with timing correct. It might be a little bit better than that first one. So I'm gonna come back. I see that that's where I hit that double hit that I mentioned earlier. So I'm gonna go to mode, grid, and I'm gonna just go and delete that accidental double hit there. So I'm gonna highlight that, hit delete. Okay, so I got it highlighted with the crosshairs there. Hit delete. Now that track's gone. I'm gonna hit bar back and just start playing from there again. Alright, so that helped a little bit. It's still, there's a bit of cleanup to do, but for the most part it does sound pretty similar to what it was in the program there. We just gotta make the hits line up a little bit better on a few of them. So what I'll do at this point is probably just go back to the beginning here and just start playing and just start working through what needs to be nudged this way or that way or whatever. So So first thing I want to do, so this one I felt like the second hit there was a little late to me. So what I'm going to do is come over to this one and go to, actually, rather than do it in grid mode, let me come over to step edit. Step edit shows you each hit. So we've got, so I'm going to just, so it looks like that one's just like a quarter beat late basically. So I'm going to hit edit, move, do it, and let's see if that sounds a little bit better now. So that's another one right there. I'll do it on the grid edit, this just to show two different ways of moving the beats around. But I'm going to highlight the beat there, and I'm going to go to copy, paste, and now I'm going to delete that original one I copied. So I'm going to just go back a little bit. So there's another one there. This one's also late, so I'm going to do it with the grid edit again. So copy, paste, delete. And there's another late one here, so I'm just going to do the same thing. Copy, paste, delete. And once again, a little late on this one, so I'm going to do the same. Copy, paste, delete. And the same with this last hit here. So copy, paste, delete. And I'm going to hit play start down here, just to have it go back to the beginning, because we did just fix a whole bunch of them. So there's another one. Copy, paste, delete. as well. So let me do the same with that one. And had I been a little more precise with how I was doing timing correct, we probably could have avoided a lot of these cut and paste, but I'm not super worried about it right now either, so. And there's one more. So that's sounding much cleaner overall. I think these first ones maybe could use a little work still, but all right. So there's probably a little bit more fine tuning we could do there, but I feel pretty good about it. So what I'm gonna do now is go to mode, save, and I'm gonna scroll over to entire memory again, and I'm gonna just save over that same project from before. So I'm gonna hit do it. I'm gonna hit do it. It's gonna ask if I want to replace it or not. I do. So we've got the project saved, and now we've got the sequence with it a little more fine tuned here on just ain't fair too. So let me see, how are we doing on time? I think that'll be it for part 2. So in part 3, I'm gonna dig into breaking up the sequence more and just kind of doing more with the samples. But at this point, with part 1, we sampled all of the individual pad hits from the Melodics, and then we built the pad layout and program with that. And now we just recorded the MIDI input, and we've rebuilt that sequence basically. So we've more or less reconstructed the song out of Melodics at this point. We don't have the background track or the hi-hats yet, but we do have the bass samples all at least lined up, and pretty good facsimile so far. So in part 3, I'm going to cover cutting out that background track and getting the cymbals and the backing track as well. At that point, we'll have it totally recreated. Then we'll start going into reconstructing it and rebuilding it and stuff, and just kind of messing with the patterns and layouts from there. So that's it for part 2, and I'll be uploading part 3 here shortly as well. Thanks for watching.